So thanks for joining us during another online session of the SAPience Technology Focus Group. Today we're going to talk about how to start to low code with SAP Rapid Application Development by Mendix. So the agenda for today, for the coming 25 to 30 minutes, we'll do a quick introduction of ourselves, tell you the story of and the vision of SAP and Mendix with regards to rapid application development. Then we'll dive into our package, what it means to start to low code, which actions you normally do, and what we did to kickstart your projects. Then do a summary, and then hopefully you have some questions which you can, as Tracy mentioned, put them in the chat box, and we'll put them on screen afterwards. So happy to co-host this session with Thomas. Thomas is a SAP technology evangelist and a SAP cloud platform expert with Flexso Digital. So my name is Bart and I'm the founder of Apyx. I think most of you will know Flexso Digital as an expert in SAP technology and innovation, and Apyx is a Mendix partner, and we're helping customers along the way with their low-code journey. To set the scene for today, Thomas will give you a short introduction on the story and vision of SAP, and then I'll do the same for Mendix, and then we'll take a deep dive in our package. So,
okay, thank you, Bart. Hi, good morning, everyone. So I will briefly introduce the vision of extending SAP products. So this image is probably not new for most of you. This is the bi-model IT strategy that SAP has announced a couple of years ago. So it is SAP's strategy to keep the digital core clean, which means that we want to keep the core as standard as possible. So in mode 1 of the bi-model IT strategy, we have a digital core, and here we don't want to have any custom code. So we want to keep it as standard as possible so that we can upgrade it easily, have hassle-free upgrades. But our experience tells us that even the most buy-oriented businesses, they always have a need for custom software. And therefore we have mode 2, which is an extension platform. And in mode 2, we can create extension applications that connect to the digital core, but we want to keep the custom code outside of the digital core. So we have an extension platform which we can use to innovate, to experiment with new technologies, and to create extension applications on top of our digital core. There are several ways to create extension applications, and one of the ways is to do it in SAP UI5 or in code, but today we are going to focus on the low-code approach using the Mendix platform. SAP Cloud Platform is a platform as a service, so it's a platform that allows you to run intelligent applications, and it focuses on 3 important areas. First of all, we have the integration. You can integrate several applications and processes into an integrated business scenario. You can use SAP Cloud Platform to extend SAP applications, to create extensions on top of cloud or on-premise applications. You can also use it as an innovation platform. It helps you to quickly build innovative application. It makes it easy to incorporate cutting-edge technologies like machine learning, AI, predictive analysis, chatbots, using the intelligent technology services. The SAP Cloud Platform also comes with a wide range of business and technology services which you can use to build applications. And rapid application development is only one of them. So today we will explain the rapid application development service, but you can combine this service with any of the services that are listed here. So there's more than 70 technology and business services that you can use as building blocks to create applications. For example, you can create a low-code application that consumes a chatbot engine to create a conversational application. So you can combine the low-code service with the conversational service, or you can use a workflow engine, or you can facilitate the integration with SAP APIs using API management. So you can really use any of these services as building blocks to create integrated applications.
yes, so I do the same for low-code. Perhaps most of you already know, so low-code is a visual way of developing applications. It's a way to democratize application development and to give developers or people with less development knowledge also a way to contribute to the digital transformation in your company. And it's a development platform, so it automates and simplifies a number of human tasks to speed up the development cycle. And the challenge is that business demand for applications is growing and IT is already struggling despite all the efforts and actions that you are doing is already finding difficulties to keep the pace. And so the goal of Mendix is to close the gap between IT and business by delivering a low-code application development platform. This is also the reason why SAP is offering Mendix to its customers. It's a way to meet company-specific needs in a quick and reliable way. In the past, and I think that's also something that's familiar for most of you, is a lot of companies had a preference to buy, had a preference for a buying strategy, and use the already available components. You're not a software house, you want to keep it as standard as possible, you want to have a vanilla ERP. Well, it's proven not to be the reality. In fact, reality is that companies will always have a need to diversify and to build custom extensions. And there is a shift, and it's ongoing for quite a while now, from a pure buying strategy to a more mixed approach, which involves much more building actions. And so low code is definitely profiting, but also enabling that shift. This is a study that Mendix did saying that a lot of companies bought ECC with the intention to stay as standard as possible, but they failed. And so they extended their SAP environment, whether it's your ECC or any other SAP solution, creating a spaghetti of custom logic, of custom built logic. And so today, what's funny is we're trying to do the same. We keep the core clean. The thing is that now we have the technology to make it happen. So S/4HANA is a lot better suited to stay standard as possible, and Mendix enables you to create a side-by-side setup to develop your extensions. So for us, it was obvious that this is the way to go. So we created a lightweight package that'll get you started with Mendix in only a number of days. So imagine that this iceberg represents the end result of a Mendix project, meaning a low-code application. And aside from the specific developments that you need to do to build the application itself, there is work to be done from a foundation point of view. And that foundation includes work on the SAP side, but also on the Mendix side. And so now Thomas will take a deep dive into what it means on the SAP side and which actions we wrapped up in the package.
Okay, so on a configuration point of view, the foundation is the SAP Cloud Platform. This is the extension platform where the Mendix application will run. And so before we can deploy any Mendix application to that platform, there's some initial configuration to be done. This includes the setup of the Cloud Foundry environment, single sign-on, custom API strategy, connect your application to on-premise SAP systems, and user management and authorizations. First of all, Cloud Foundry is an operating system for cloud environments, for cloud platforms, and SAP uses it as the operating system for their cloud platform. So Cloud Foundry can be seen as the operating system of cloud platform. Cloud Foundry is an open source project, and we use it, we have to configure it initially. So we will create sub-accounts. Usually we create one sub-account per environment, 2-tier or 3-tier, depending on your preference. Usually we create one for development, quality, and one for production. Then we will create spaces within these accounts. So one space represents one application. So all assets belonging to one application are grouped together in one space. So spaces are created per application in each sub-account. Next, Cloud Platform is a cloud environment, is a platform as a service. It needs resources, memory, and processing power to run these applications. So we have to assign these resources to these spaces. We have to define how much memory an application can use. And we can also implement auto-scaling, that the application will reserve more memory when it is needed and less memory when it is not needed. And we will create quota plans as well to facilitate this process. And then finally, we will create a database. Our applications, our extension applications will also need to store data. And we don't want to store that data inside our digital core. We want to keep it clean. So we have a separate database in the cloud that we will use to store the extension data. And this database will be a shared database. So we will create one database which is shared by all extension applications. Next, we need to connect the cloud environment with our on-premise environment. We have a digital core running in a private cloud or in an on-premise environment. This is behind a firewall, so it's not, it cannot be consumed by public internet. It does not have public internet access, and therefore we install a SAP Cloud Connector, which is basically an SSL VPN tunnel between the cloud environment and your on-premise environment. And we will also configure the connectivity and the destination services, which are technical services on the cloud platform that enable applications to communicate with on-premise backend systems. Then single sign-on. We obviously want our users to be able to log in, and not only log in, but log in with their corporate account so that they don't need to keep separate passwords and accounts for each application. So we will configure a trust between the corporate identity provider of your landscape and the SAP Cloud Platform sub-account. We will implement a principal propagation, which is a technique to have SSO over the entire landscape. So a user will log into an application on the cloud. This application is connected to your identity provider, and the identity will be propagated to the SAP system in the backend to authenticate the user there. This is called principal propagation. So this is also something that needs to be configured initially. Then custom APIs. SAP offers already quite some whitelisted APIs that you can use to build extension applications, but our experience tells us that in most scenarios there's a need for custom APIs, that not all APIs are standard there. So there's a need for custom APIs, but I just told you to keep the core clean. So how do we do this? Here we have a typical stack of an SAP system. We have a database layer, an application layer. On top of that, we have an OData layer and then a Fiori Launchpad to consume this logic. So this is all standard SAP, and we want to keep it as clean as possible, but we still want to have a custom API. We do this by only changing the OData layer and not changing the layer, but adding additional OData services there. And we do this by creating custom OData services specific for an extension application on Mendix. This leads to better maintainability because each service is designed specifically for each Mendix application, and also to better performance because we can optimize the services specifically for that application. Technically, from a technical point of view, we do this by using standard SAP CDS and BOPF techniques, and this allows a flexible solution. So here we have a flexible solution allowing to have custom APIs, but not having to change our digital core, and thus keeping the upgrades hassle-free. Okay, so this is the foundation that we will implement and configure in our package, which you can use to deploy Mendix applications on.
Right, thank you, Thomas. So going back up to Mendix. Mendix has a modular structure. So to keep it simple, it works with what we call separate modules built by both Mendix or also by partners like ourselves. And those modules are made available in the public Mendix App Store. So if you go to appstore.mendix.com, I have an example in the next slide. So what you do is you logically bundle those modules and you import them into an application. So a module is like a microservice. It's a small functionality, which also contains logic, contains a domain model. And it's a good practice to create a company-specific starter app, always, not only as a kickstart, but it's a good practice to do it anyway. So you create a collection of modules that you as a company have defined as being relevant or important to use or to start from. So call it your template solution or your template application. So the work that we've done in our package is that we created a Mendix-on-SAP starter app. So we gathered the modules that are relevant when creating an application in an SAP context. So some words on modules. There are different types of modules. So you have your standard modules, which are automatically generated or automatically imported when you create a new project. You have modules which you can find and download in the Mendix App Store. So there are Mendix modules, which are logically modules created, developed, and published by Mendix. And you have modules created by partners and are platform supported. So platform supported means that Mendix takes ownership of the support within their SLAs. But you have also partner modules which are community supported, means that it's the partner that is responsible to define the support model and if he or she gives support or not and just gives an application to use. And then you also have partner modules which are not publicly available, but which we, for example, use to kickstart a project, which is our knowledge that we share with customers. This is the App Store. You can find a lot of modules here. For example, there is a single sign-on module which you can just download, which is delivered by Mendix itself. And there is also partner-specific modules as shown at the bottom of the screenshot. So, with that knowledge, when we look at our Mendix-on-SAP starter app, is what we deliver in our package are the basics, what we think every SAP customer needs to extend SAP. So of course, it's those standard modules which you will always have. We search for existing Mendix modules that make sense to use. We modified some Mendix modules, and especially those modules within SAP link to it. And then we have some modules we built ourselves that can be of use for you as well. And then there are optionals, things we use in a customer or a project specific need. For example, a project we did last was we created screens that run on an Android barcode scanner. So the integration with that barcode scanner is something that we've built once and we can reuse multiple times. But that depends on which kind of application you want to build first or what you want to include in that starter app. Another thing is a lot of specific UI components. Is actually called a widget. It's not a module, but a module is a functionality, while a widget is a UI component you can just drag into your application. Mendix offers a lot of standard UI components, but it makes sense to create our own, and so which we did, and which can also be part of a standard or a starter app. So some examples. So the administration module is a standard module which is always delivered, but if you would delete it from your project, you can always find it back in the App Store. And it contains administration functionalities to manage your users. It also gives you some app statistics. So this is just part of any application. A module we use as is, for example, regarding unit testing. It's an interface to manage and run your unit tests. And I think most interesting modules as well for you as an audience, as an SAP audience, is Mendix delivers a data connector. And what we did is we extended it so that you can also have anonymous access to an SAP system. Another one is it's a connector. What we added, for example, is we make sure that it also supports single sign-on in a hybrid and a native scenario. So, and then at the end, what you see is this on the left-hand side is our internal App Store. And what we do is we import all these modules into your application. So on the right-hand side, you have the Mendix Studio Pro environment. We import the modules. So meaning you don't need to look which modules are needed. You don't run into the same issues that we did. We only need configuration to make sure that it works with your specific environment, and then we link it to your specific SAP system. So this is what the package looks like on a Mendix point of view, and I think Thomas will share a quick summary, and then we'll dive into some questions.
Yes, so on a technical point of view, just a summary of the global picture. So what do you need? You need a cloud platform subscription, and there we will have a sub-account per environment and have quality production, for example. In this sub-account, we have a space where we have a SAP HANA database instance running, and this database will be shared. And we have additional spaces per application. So in this case, we have 2 applications, each running inside their own space. And we want these applications to reuse the same database. So we will create a shared database instance that we can reuse over all applications within our sub-account. Next, we want to configure authorization and trust management. So we will connect your corporate identity provider, create a trust between both parties, so that the applications can be authenticated by your corporate identity provider. Then we want to connect to our on-premise SAP system. Therefore, we use a cloud connector. A cloud connector is a small component installed in your on-premise landscape. We'll connect it to your digital core, and then we will configure the connectivity and destination service in the SAP Cloud Platform sub-account to use this secure tunnel to allow the applications to consume data coming from your digital core in a secure way. Okay, so this is our package. This is all the technical aspects that are included in our package, but we also include some workshops, so we will also guide you along the way. So we will start with a workshop to define the requirements and functionality, and then we will do the SAP Cloud Platform setup and the Mendix Starter app, and then have an end-to-end walkthrough workshop. So we will guide you along the way, and generally speaking, this timeline will take 2 weeks, but depending on a specific installations that are already present or specific requirements that are needed on the Mendix side, this can be a little bit less or a little bit more. Okay, so thank you all for listening and for attending this seminar. I hope that you find it very interesting. Don't forget to check out our upcoming online sessions, and we hope that we have some questions.
I think we do. Let's try to put them on the screen. Coming up. Yes. So first question we have is, what's the power or added value of Mendix? Yeah, so we didn't dive into this today. We had a session on Tuesday explaining the what and why of low-code and Mendix. So it's interesting to look at our Apyx websites, events, and in the first webinar, there is a YouTube recording uploaded to YouTube. But to be short, it's actually a way to develop faster, and it gives IT more efficiency, more output with the same resources, but it also gives business users a way of autonomy when it comes to innovation or set up their own proof of concepts, and so to unburden IT also for a bit. And in the end, what we see is there's a tighter integration, collaboration, and more empathy between the both. But check out the recording of Tuesday, and then I'm sure it will become more clear. So I hope that was an answer to the question. Do we have more questions, Nicola? What would be a typical effort when you don't make use of the starter app? So from a Mendix point of view, what we see is when you look for and reuse the standard modules, which are generally available, and you try to run those SAP modules, and then you overcome some hurdles. It's about, depending on your technical skills, knowledge, and the complexity you want to go for, it's between 5 or 10 days only to set up the Mendix front end. And and what we did is we packaged it and reduced it to 1 or 2 days. It's importing and then integrating and then configuring it to your system. So from the best scenario, from 10 to 1 day. But What would be a good starting point to use Mendix? So the starter app, what we said is, first of all, what we see is that companies have a lot of ideas when it comes to applications or extending the core. And so we do a portfolio workshop and just identify all those ideas. And then we look for a wow factor, so applications that are a quick win, but also solve a lot of problem. So a lot of business visibility. And that's mostly a typical good point to start with. And then our starter package, can help you get going very easy to get that first success up and running. Do we have more questions? What about Fiori? How does Mendix relate to Fiori? That's also something we didn't cover. It's complementary. So what we see is that companies that go for Mendix want to use Mendix in a broader scale. So to extend SAP, if you only want to extend SAP data, it still makes sense to do it in Fiori. But any company has use cases that are not only related to SAP, that make use of other data or standalone applications. And that is when a platform comes into play. And it also requires a vision that you say we will invest in a platform and let Mendix handle all of the complexity. If in the future you want to go for Python or you want to create an application on a HoloLens, for example, you only need to know Mendix and not the language underlying.
And Mendix also comes with a Fiori design set. So on a look and feel based point of view, it can be perfectly complementary. You can run Mendix applications next to Fiori applications, and yes, they will speak the same design language. So,
yeah. Does Apyx offer any ready-made connectors with other ERP systems like NetSuite? Yeah, we don't make any connectors ourselves so far, except adapting those from SAP. But if you would go on the App Store, and you would look like adapters, connectors, NetSuite, perhaps you will find any. There is a big amount of readily available modules on the App Store. So yes. Do we need special Mendix and our SAP licenses? Yes. So Mendix is a third-party solution offered by SAP in a tight collaboration. So what you do is you can buy Mendix right from SAP, which has an advantage that there's only one support license as well and only one point of contact. And it's a user-based license. So you have a user-based license, and then you need to buy the runtime, which is then SAP Cloud Platform, database, and so on. But a chunk of the budget goes to the user licenses. But there is a split between internal users and external users. And of course, whenever you have a use case, for example, there is a big bank in the Netherlands that made a mobile banking application with Mendix Native, which is open for everybody and potentially hundreds of thousands of users. But in that case, it's a specific pricing, of course. But anyway, otherwise, it's user-based. Yeah, it depends on the numbers depends on the thresholds. So it's like in any software solution, when you buy one user or 1,000, that depends if it's in or external. So that's a big difference. Are there modules available to integrate with Office 365? Yes, there are. And also, if you go to the App Store, you will find them there. Thing is, what Mendix is a very open platform. Everything is approachable via APIs. So what we see is that if there is a problem with connectivity, it is mostly not related to anything related to Mendix. Also good to know is the way that we as a partner or you as a customer extend Mendix is the same way as how Mendix extends the platform itself. So we use the same techniques and the same ways
and that's the real power of the platform. So, but go and check out on the App Store to find some integration with Office 365. Yeah. Are we? I think we have time for one question, if there are any on the chat. Okay, so thanks for your time and attendance. I hope you enjoyed it. It was, of course, very brief, and we tried to put everything in half an hour. If you have more questions, please reach out to Flexso or ourselves, and then we're happy to answer any questions you have. Have a nice day at home or wherever you're working from, and then hope to see you soon again.
And sorry, please, I have pasted the link for a short survey, and to help you register for the next 2 sessions, I've also inserted the links for next week and the week after for the MECO session as well. So please come back, and thank you for attending today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.